Firstly, we obviously are very concerned about those employees who are affected by the fate of Virgin, many of whom live in my own electorate. And I was really pleased that the Finance Minister confirmed this morning that they would be able to keep JobKeeper payments even during the administration period. But secondly, having two airlines in Australia is vital for our economy and particularly important for our tourism sector. And that's why the government has made it very clear that its objective is to see two airlines remain.
That's an objective, two airlines. That doesn't necessarily shore up the future of Virgin Australia. So you said no to it being allowed to die. What does that mean? The government is a last buyer of resort?
Well, I think that government should not be the first resort in these situations. And unfortunately, I think that we've seen the opposition either played like a fiddle by the foreign shareholders or being nakedly political. Government should intervene in these things as a matter of last resort. And I suspect that that's what we'll be doing.
Aren't we getting close to last resort, though?
Well, no, we've had an administrator appointed, and that can potentially be an opportunity to put Virgin on a sound footing. I would hope and would expect that the government will work very closely with the administrator. But obviously, our preference, if there is private capital available to recapitalise Virgin, then that could be a positive outcome. But obviously, we need to work very closely with the administrator.
But just to clarify your position, and I know you've been in the tourism sphere before, and it might not be international for a while, but we might be getting domestic tourism back and running. The government, whatever it takes, there's a lot of different options there. It should not allow Virgin Australia to collapse.
I think that it's absolutely vital that we continue to have two airlines, and I think we've been well served by having Qantas and Virgin in the market, and I want to see that continue.
Right, but so the first part of your answer just mentions two airlines. The second is Qantas and Virgin. Are you saying the government should not allow Virgin Australia to collapse, however that happens?
I think that we should be trying to protect Virgin, and we should be trying to protect that as part of recognising the importance of having competition in the domestic airline sector. It's important to tourism and importance to the lives of those employees who depend upon it. But what we have to do is work with the administrator to try and structure this in a way that makes sure that it is financially viable as it moves forward. And as I said at the beginning, I think that jumping early in terms of government assistance is a mistake that Labor is going down the path of making if there are other alternatives available. And we shouldn't be letting the foreign shareholders who own 90% of this airline easily off the hook for their own responsibilities.
Right, fair enough. But what if it comes to the other aspect and there aren't other options? Should the government be willing to see Virgin collapse or not?
I've said no. I don't think we should allow Virgin to collapse. I think it's vital that we maintain two airlines in the system, and that is the stated policy of the government.
Well, the stated policy of the government is two airlines. It's not to necessarily save Virgin Australia.
Well, Virgin is the other airline.
Yeah, but they've spoken about whether or not there could be a second airline, another player could come in. That would mean the two airline policy stays, but Virgin goes.
Well, I think that what we have to see is where the administrator takes this. But I think that what we will hopefully see out of this is both Qantas and Virgin remain in the market in Australia. What we would like to see, I think, is that the private sector is able to recapitalise Virgin, and they're the type of discussions that we need to have with the administrator going forward.
The tracing app is getting a lot of people talking. You said the code needs to be released, the source code for this app. The Minister has said some of it can be, but not all of it because of security reasons. Do you trust that explanation? And as it stands, are you supportive of this and you'll download the app yourself?
Yeah, I certainly will be downloading the app because I think that the PM and the National Cabinet have quite sensibly laid out the three criteria that we need to meet before we can look at relaxing the current restrictions that we're all under. And that is obviously continued expansion of testing. It is having that tracing capability, and it's also having a response capability when we do see outbreaks if that was to occur. And the tracing capacity of our state health departments is going to be absolutely crucial. And an app like this, in my view, strengthens our hand in being able to do that effectively. And I think that it is important to consider what this app will actually do. It will basically leave control of the data in the hands of the person who owns their phone and also their app. They can delete it whenever they want. It's voluntary whether they participate, but But I do hope that Australians do download the app, because it will significantly increase the effectiveness of health authorities across the country in being able to trace people that might have come into contact with those that are found to be infected.
Just finally, you're a moderate of New South Wales. Surely you'll be reading Malcolm Turnbull's book.
Yeah, I will be. I'm actually reading a biography of Robert Menzies first, but I look forward to reading Malcolm's book after that.
What have you made of what we've seen so far in the news? Some pretty forthright feedback for some of his colleagues?
Look, I think that's the natural process, and recollections will obviously differ about events of history, both recent and past. And there will be a debate about Malcolm's views and Malcolm's recollections of various events. But as I think others have said, it is important that Prime Ministers do record their own reflections on their time in office as part of the body of knowledge we have about Australian history and Australian politics.
I'm assuming most Liberal MPs will be reading it. Good to finally hear one on camera saying they'll do so. Trent Zimmerman, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.